What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jimmy Comics. My name is Riley.
I'm Wyatt.
And welcome to Novel Nook, our segment where we talk about books that actually have words in them. No pictures.
My preferred method of entertainment.
Well, today we're going to be talking about Star Wars The Old Republic, Revan, or as Wyatt likes to call it, Revan.
That's what I thought it sounded. I had never heard the name pronounced, so when I read it, it was Revan.
You got to make it fancy.
It sounds more Star Wars.
If you're not too familiar with The Old Republic, this story takes place about 4,000 years before A New Hope.
And it's, 3 centuries before the Old Republic online MMO game?
Yep.
Okay.
So, long time ago.
This connects to all the gamers out there. It connects to Knights of the Old Republic by BioWare.
So this story takes place kind of between Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, and then after 2. Mm-hmm. So the author, his name is Drew Karpyshyn, I think is how you pronounce that.
Yeah, and he's wrote other stories for BioWare stuff. Like he wrote
he's famous for the Mass Effect novels. He also did the Darth Bane trilogy.
Which are sitting on our desk right here.
Yes, they are.
In a big pile of books that you can see
Are
in the
coming
hall.
soon?
So
anyway, Karpyshyn does a really good job of like putting you in the universe that this takes place in, and I didn't feel like I missed anything not having played the games, because I didn't play them, but this tells you exactly what happened in both of the games.
In the introductory chapters for each point of view, you kind of get some info dump sections, exposition, like you start with Revan, and it's like, my name is Revan, and I was the hero. He doesn't say that, but it's like, this is all his backstory, and they do the same for Scourge, even though Scourge is new, and they do it for Mitra, and she has this whole thing, like there's a 3-year time skip in this, and she went and did this stuff with the Jedi Civil War.
Yeah, that's the second game.
Yeah.
All of that is. Yeah, the time skip is we'll get to that later, but it opens up with a shot of Dromund Kaas, which is the Sith planet, the Sith homeworld.
Not the homeworld, it is the capital of the Sith Empire. Korriban is the homeworld of the Sith.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, while we debate what is the homeworld of the Sith.
No debate, I'm right.
They had been there a long time, and then the hyperspace wars happened, and they were almost like made extinct by the Jedi, and then they finally made their way back there. And this new emperor, he's been the emperor for like 1,000 years. He's the one that helped them find the place, because they had lost it for a while. And he has kind of rebuilt the Sith Empire, and they've gone through 1,000 years of peace. They haven't come into contact with Jedi.
With the Sith, the peace is kind of relative.
Well, yes. It's peace and relativity to the Jedi.
Yeah.
But they have been conquering worlds. They do have, I think it said like several hundred worlds that they had conquered.
All throughout the unknown regions, and the Republic has no idea they exist. The Republic pretty much thought that they got all the Sith.
Yeah, so
there isn't any.
It's cool to see them portrayed in this light as like really fearing the Jedi, because usually you think of the bad guys like, hey, I'm gonna take over your Republic and stuff. But
yeah, like we're gonna get revenge, but the leaders of the Sith are like, if we attack them, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, they're just trying to survive.
And that's
as a people.
Really, I think that comes from them being so dedicated to the dark side, because the foundation of the dark side is fear.
To survive.
Yeah, and after the Great Hyperspace War, they fear the Republic and the Jedi, and they're so self-survival is number one that they don't want to risk anything. So.
And you got to think that they instill that feeling at a young age to upcoming people, because it's been 1,000 years. Like they haven't experienced a war,
Well, I mean, they've conquered different planets, but you're right. They have not experienced war with a power like the Republic.
So,
and it's just funny to me because, I mean, the Sith Empire is so militant and they're constantly expanding pretty much, yet they still fear the Republic, who is... They don't know this, but the Republic's kind of been in decline a little bit, and they've faced a bunch of threats, and they're not as strong as they were when the Great Hyperspace War happened.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess I'm just going to get into Revan's backstory a bit. He led the Republic military against the Mandalorians throughout those wars against them. And the Mandalorians are a race of warriors. They're a human race, but they have this whole distinct culture, and it's pretty cool. I mean, a lot of people know about the Mandalorians in Star Wars. And he led Jedi who were... They were like a subgroup because the main Jedi Council did not want to get involved in the war. They wanted to stay out of it, but I mean, Republic was getting beat, so Revan was like, okay, this got to stop. So he went and leads the Republic military and racks up victories and wins the war. He defeats Mandalore, the Ultimate, which is their leader in single combat, and then him and his best friend Malik go off to the unknown regions because they find out some information. And when they come back, they've been turned into Sith. Like, they turn to the dark side. They form this new Sith Empire and attack the Republic. And they get defeated, but Revan loses all his memories. Like, the Jedi Council locks his memories, and so he doesn't turn again.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Basically, they said, we won't arrest you, and we'll still recognize you as a Jedi. But you can't keep your memories. So he doesn't know how dangerous he really is.
Yeah. Like, he's not as powerful as he once was here.
Yeah.
And he's really just like, I'm going to live in peace. He gets married to Bastille Shan. And he's just living out in peace. But then he gets nightmares.
Yeah.
He dreams of a world cloaked in storm and rain, which is Droman Kos, because that planet has always got a storm going on. Because the Emperor is really edgy.
Before we get too into it, what would you rate this book?
I'm typically more in my novels, sci-fi novels, I like more military stuff. And this has had less of that. But even though the characters were very well made, and had a lot of good development and good dialogue and a lot of good scenery, I would probably rate it a 9 out of 10. 8.5 or a 9 out of 10.
Okay. For me, this is definitely one of the top books I've ever read, as far as just novels go. And it quite possibly could be the best thing I read this year. So I'm giving it a 10.
Yeah, I would really like it.
I really did enjoy this book. One reason is because you like the Revan stuff.
I did. I liked it more.
More than half of this book is about this Sith named Lord Scourge, and he is in the Old Republic game. He is a Sith. By race.
He's the Emperor's Wrath in those games.
Yeah. So he's a Sith. He has red skin. He has tendrils on his face.
Yellow eyes.
But he's not like your typical strong Sith. He's like...
He has the title Sith Lord, but he's still not...
They don't call him Darth.
Yeah, he's just Lord.
Yeah.
Scourge, and he's
straight out of the Sith Training Academy.
He just went and conquered and crushed some rebellions for the Empire, and this is his first time in years being back in Droman Kos.
He's definitely not a big name at this time. So it's cool to see like a young, inexperienced guy, and you can see on this Sith homeworld how paranoid everyone is. No one trusts anyone. You're always looking out for yourself. Even your so-called allies are in. They will stab you in the back anytime.
Yeah,
so.
The Sith Empire works as the Emperor on top, and below the Emperor is the Dark Council, which is like 12 people who have the title of Darth, and they're constantly trying to earn the Emperor's favor over their other constituents. So there's a lot of infighting. And the Emperor encourages this because he knows that if they are all too busy fighting each other, they won't ever be able to stand against him.
Yeah. Yeah, so he definitely does encourage them to fight each other.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The Sith Empire Emperor, a lot better than Palpatine.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you say he's stronger than Palpatine?
He's way stronger than Palpatine. That's not even close.
Oh, yeah.
So, we find out later in the book, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you about the Emperor. Just how powerful he really is. So we've said that he's reigned for 1,000 years. So he's at least 1,000 years old. What's cool about him is he doesn't, even his eyes are blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, from a baby, he was like this. He's always had those black eyes. But like they said when he was born, he didn't cry. He's never cried in his life. And he immediately, like when he was a toddler, I think, killed his parents.
Because he looked different, I guess, and his father was suspicious, and his mother was like, yeah, I kind of cheated on you with the Sith Lord. And the father goes in a rage and tries to kill the mother and the child, I'm pretty sure, but he kills him, uses the Force, I'm pretty sure. And then he tortures his mother to death because, hey, you betrayed the family.
Yeah.
So, you whore.
Jeez. But, like, after that, he became, like, kind of a political figure, I guess.
He was conquering the home planet he was on, and the Sith
Lord. What
Lord.
did they call it? I don't.
Nathema.
And it was named something else before, I think.
I'm pretty sure it was Nathema, fully.
I thought that was what they call it now. Because, like, after he left the planet, I don't remember. Anyway, he somehow convinced, like, and this is his strong point, he convinced, like, a whole council to, like, help him. Basically, he just drained all of their life energy.
Yeah, that's after the Grey Hyperspace War happens. Because he pretty much takes over this planet and gets the title of Sith Lord, like, here you go, from the rest of the Sith Empire. And he kind of just disappears after that and just works there. He's more of a scholar. He's more known as a scholar than a warrior. And then when they're getting their asses beat in the hyperspace war by the Republic, he calls out and says, hey, I have a ritual we can do, and I think that can save our empire. So 300 Sith Lords show up, and he has them help in this ritual. The ritual immediately, like, absorbs them. Yeah, and then it doesn't stop there. It absorbs every life on the planet. All the people, all the animals, all the insects, they just disappear and just leaves their clothes behind.
Yeah.
But not only that, it leaves an entire void in the Force. Because if you know anything about Star Wars, you know that the Force surrounds everything. It's throughout the universe. You can always feel it. So when our Force-sensitive characters go there and they don't feel it, it is completely alien to them.
They really emphasize that. Yeah. Like, it makes them physically sick. I think it was Mitra said, I would rather be somewhere where the dark side of the Force is
when she gets
present than be here.
She, part of her backstory is during the Mandalorian Wars, she activated a super weapon on a planet called Malachor 5, and it did kind of the same thing. It destroyed both her and the Mandalorians' armies and all the life on the planet. But the big difference is that it didn't take out the Force.
Yeah.
Like, the Force was still there.
Yeah, and even the Dark Council is afraid of him because they know about this too, and they're like, if he would do that, then, like, you know, what's to stop him from destroying the entire galaxy? You know, and, I mean, I like being evil, but, you know, what's the point of being evil if there's nothing left?
We find out later when Revan first meets the Emperor, he stares into his soul pretty much and sees that what he eventually wants to accomplish is to do that to the entire galaxy and be Emperor over a dead husk of existence.
He's crazy.
Yeah. Completely evil. If Star Wars has an Antichrist, this is it.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. I was thinking exactly of Damien from The Omen. When it was talking about when he was a baby, and he was always like that. So we also get this part of the story where Revan takes, he finds his Mandalorian friend, and
Kangaroo.
Yeah, and then they go and try to find the mask of Mandalore.
Yeah, because Revan, at the end of the Mandalorian Wars, he hid that, and that's a symbol to the Mandalorian people. Without it, no one can step up and take the title Mandalore and lead them. So they're fractured and broken, and they'll never be a threat. But he goes to Kangarus's clan Ordo, and he's like, I think I know where it is. And they're like, okay, we trust Kangarus, so we'll go with you.
His memory comes back in fragments and dreams, and while he was there, he had a dream about it, and he's like, I think I know where it is, so we can try this.
I felt in the reunion, too, Kangarus is welcomed back by all the clan, and the clan head shows up, and she's really mad, and Revan's like, you two have a history? He's like, yep, she's my wife. Yep. And it's like, oh. So Revan convinces them to move their camp into another clan's territory, and they get into a fight with that clan, and they have these cool basilisk war droids that are pretty much dragons that they ride, and Clan Ordo has more than the other clan attacking them, so they end up winning, but only because Revan whips out his lightsaber and shows himself to be a Jedi. And not only that, but the clan head, she does figure out that this is Revan, the guy who defeated all of the Mandalorians.
I thought it was interesting that they made sure that only a couple people saw it, and
so they didn't
that's the people that went with them on the voyage to get the mask.
Mm-hmm. And when they find the mask, they have to climb up this huge, 2-kilometer spire of ice to get there, and it's a hard climb. Only the pilots,
Would it take them 6 or 8 hours?
Yeah, something like that. And only the best warriors in the clan went. So Kangarus, Revan, and 6 other Mandalorians along with the clan head. And they get up there and they find a metal tomb. This is not supposed to be here. Because, they're in a frozen wasteland and this is here. And they find out...
It's Durasteel or whatever they use.
And it's a tomb for an ancient Sith Lord, and his followers left his body there so that the other Sith wouldn't find and desecrate his remains. And they go in and they find the mask. They also find a holocron. Well, not a holocron, just a regular data thing. It doesn't need the Force, it's just regular. And they find out about the story of this Sith Lord. He was the firstborn son of the Emperor's father, and when the Emperor took over that planet, that son fled rather than face him because he knew he'd get his butt whooped. And so
the way they told it too made it super creepy. I would love to see that on screen.
Riley just wants this turned into a movie.
I really do.
So not only that, but they find Mandalore's mask, and then that's when Vita, the clan head, Kangarus's wife, decides that we're going to have a discussion about you being Revan and why we aren't killing you right now. And Kangarus is trying to convince them to stand down, that we don't have to be enemies with Revan. And she's like, no, so they get into a fight.
I love his loyalty to Revan.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking when that scene happened. He is shooting his wife for Revan. These two are brothers in every sense of the word. They've gone on and done so much crazy stuff together. It's been years since Revan has been out and about doing stuff. And he stayed on Coruscant, not taking any jobs, hanging out in different cantinas with strippers and booze, because he had a feeling that someday Revan would need him.
Well, also think about how this guy has went years separated from his clan his
and his wife.
And his wife. He's living a wasted life on Coruscant. And, you can tell he's longing to get back to his people.
Yeah,
and what does he do? What does he do? He takes Revan's side, not his people's side. He's the
one who shoots his wife. He goes down,
he did,
and shoots her, and she dies. And then he puts on the mask, and he becomes Mandalore the Preserver, which is awesome. Good, because the other Mandalorians would probably try and attack the Republic, but he doesn't. So Revan actually tells him, he's like, okay, we got the mask. The Mandalorians are safe. I trust you. I've got to keep going, and because I know where Nathema is now, and that's where I went with Malak before. That's where I found something, so I need to go there again. But you need to stay here and get the Mandalorians united and strong, because the Sith will have to come through Mandalorian space to invade the Republic. So you need to be ready for that. And he's like, don't worry, I got your fam. Good luck.
Do we ever get to see what happens to them?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, though, a lot of Mandalorians did join the Sith Empire in SWTOR, because a lot of the bounty hunters in SWTOR are Mandalorian.
Well, that makes sense, because that's what they did before in the Knights of the Old Republic game.
So I'm pretty sure Kangaris, when he dies and other Mandalores take over in the centuries that follow, they are more not like him and more ready to
Yeah.
attack the Republic. So the whole time this has been happening, Scourge has been working for a Sith Lord.
Yeah, so he shows up. He shows up to this
Darth Nihilus.
Darth Nihilus. I said Nihilus. I don't know.
I'm not to be trusted with these things. I always get them wrong. So
he shows up to her stronghold. He's been sent by the Emperor himself to kind of investigate an assassination attempt on Darth Nihilus.
Yes.
He gets there and he's immediately ambushed
by mercenaries.
Yes.
And this is kind of how you can tell he's kind of a novice, because he's going through all of these. After he defeats the mercenaries, he's going through everything that happens, all the details, and he's like, who hired them? I think it might have been either her advisor or her security chief, because they feel threatened with me coming here. But it turns out, and I kind of saw this coming, I was like, I bet she did it, because that's the Sith Lord way. You know, just got to test everyone you work with. If he got killed, he's out of your hair.
It wasn't a test.
Was it?
She did it because she was trying to get rid of him.
No, but it was also a test of his skills.
She was still trying to get rid of him, though, because she didn't want him to investigate. She didn't want an outsider to come into this, because it was like a big conspiracy against the Emperor. But he gets there and he fights off the ambush. There's this little Sith guy. He's not really
He's not a force sensitive at all, and really he's only good for his splicing, which is hacking. He's a good hacker.
Yeah, he's good at that, and he's also very good at convincing people to do things.
Yeah, he's Nihilus' top advisor.
Yeah, his name is Setchel. And you also have Murtaugh, the head of security.
We don't really see him that much.
Not much, but they do, like, they are together a lot, him and Setchel, because they're the top of Nihilus' people. So Scourge is like kind of, tossing this around in his head, like trying to figure out what's going on, why was I attacked, which is cool. And then later on, he's given a mission by Nihilus to go to some droid factory.
Yeah, because the assassination attempt on her was by a droid that had been specifically made to kill her. And if it hadn't been for someone standing too close or her moving at the last second, she would have been shot and killed by this droid. They track it down to a planet that has separatist rebels to the Empire. And Scourge goes to this factory with Setchel. Setchel's going to slice into them. They infiltrate stealthily. They don't get caught. And then they get to the room with all the information, and the door is locked, and they can't open it. And Setchel may have done that on purpose.
It reminded me of the scene in episode 2 with the factory.
The Geonosian droid factory, because, there's big things
Super
of molten... Loud. It's hot, like Scourge and Setchel can... Scourge is okay, kind of, because he's physically fit, but Setchel was like... the entire time. And so the door doesn't open. Setchel may have done it on purpose. And Scourge is just like, get the hell out of my way. And slices it open. Yeah. And he's like, Setchel, go and get the shit. I'm going to fight to hold him off. So Setchel does that. And...
he has to fight, he fights one really big droid.
And
beats
earlier
that
on,
takes everything he has.
Earlier on, he was wanting to be cautious with their approach, because he's like, if they have assault droids, then we'll have trouble.
I did like the secret infiltration he had at the beginning outside of the compound. That was cool.
And Setchel was like, oh, those are too expensive for this company to make. You only have to deal with little patrol droids. And then he gets into the factory,
outside.
and he gets inside. A couple patrol droids show up, and he's like, "Okay, I'm ready. How about you?" And then a big, gigantic assault droid, which is covered in armor that he can't really slice through, because lightsaber-resistant armor is common in this time for droids and stuff, and it has a bunch of heavy blasters, and it just comes boom, boom. It's pretty much like a droid ATST. And he's just like, he's like the Witcher.
Yeah. Yeah, he beats that, takes everything, and then like two or three more show up
with more patrol droids.
You gotta be kidding me. So now he's just trying to make a run for it and get out of there.
And he ends up spilling one of the big things of molten lava. And he goes to go out and he's like, Setchel, I'll meet you there. And he's like, well, I've already kind of left and got what we needed. Because Setchel shuts off the power, which shuts off the droids, and gets out of there. He probably could have done it quicker. And yeah. And he's already making his way out. He's like, oh, you're alive. Well, you might want to keep running because me shutting down the power has overloaded the reactor. This place is going to blow. And Scourge is just like, I hate you so much right now. And
then he's thinking in his head like, hey, he wouldn't have told me that if I hadn't asked.
Yeah.
Something's going on here.
He was like, did he not know the door code, or was he just trying to get me alerted? And I'm pretty sure he could have found the data and shut down the droids quicker. Conspiracy theory. Yes. Illuminati has been confirmed.
God, later he really makes him pay, though. He's like, I'm going to interrogate him later. God. But what happened to him after that mission? I don't really remember.
After that, he just goes back to Nearest, and he brings these concerns to Nearest. I'm pretty sure when Scourge gets out of the room, I think he does, and she claims, I think she may have ordered him to do it again as a test. Maybe. I don't remember.
But did he get really hurt in this? Because I remember like a gap where he was healing.
Yeah, he was getting hit by blasters, because Scourge doesn't know how to deflect blaster bolts. He just uses his armor all the time. He's the Sith Warrior class in SWTOR.
Yeah.
We're playing SWTOR right now.
We are, yes.
Nearest does tell him that he suffered...
Darth Zedrix.
Yeah, before that, though... Scourge has this unique ability to use the dark side to feed off of the fear and anger from living people, and he makes him stronger. That doesn't work against droids because they don't have any emotions for him to feed off of and fuel his power.
This is a mentor moment.
Yeah, that's why he had such trouble with these droids, not just because of how hot and terrible the factory was, but because he couldn't feed off of them. And she tells him that if he looks within, then that's kind of the counter. And she says... She then has a plan to get him to kill a man named Darth Zedrix, which is another man on the Dark Council. He is old, human dude. He's kind of past his prime, and he was the one who was working with the Separatists, who ordered them to use the droid to kill Nearest.
Well, so she says.
Yeah, so she says. So he goes and does that, and he kills his two attendants, and then he pauses and takes he stalls a little bit for time. He's like Scourge, why do you Sith always give yourselves names like that? Do you think it's intimidating? And I laughed at that because I immediately thought the same thing when he shut up. My name is Lord Scourge. I was like, really, did you come up with that one on your own? Your parents must be very proud of that one.
They are.
Yeah, they're probably dead.
Jeez,
he probably killed them.
Oh my,
that's how he works.
No, he's not that evil.
No, he's not. They are probably dead, though.
But yeah, he quite handily defeats Lord Zedric.
Yeah, he gets zapped, but that was pretty much all Zedric had.
Yeah.
Like he had to stall and make him question his loyalty to Nearest for a bit, just to build up the power to do that. And by the time he did that, it didn't actually kill him. So he tries to switch his loyalties by saying, "Nearest sent you, knowing you would die. You just work for me and everything will be good." And he's like, hold on a minute, I can sense you ain't got nothing left in the tank, old man.
He's like, well, man, I can't survive another blast like that, but he could be bluffing.
Now he senses it. He's like, hold on a minute, you ain't got nothing left. And he literally walks up to him. Zedrix tries to block with a lightsaber, but his first strike knocks it away.
It's like Palpatine.
Yeah.
No,
don't kill me. But except there was no unlimited power.
Yeah, that already came first.
Yeah. So he dies.
Yes.
Scourge cuts his head off as proof of the kill.
He does, yes.
And takes it back to Nearest, and she's like, "Oh, Scourge, you're a good boy. I'll give you a pat on the head, and here's a cookie." Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's that.
That's that. What happens next?
Well, they do. I think after that, Darth Nearest takes him to Nathema, right? Because they're talking about the Emperor. She's like, don't go to the Emperor. He's crazy.
Yeah, and there's stuff about treason. Like, he thinks she may be treasonous. This happens after he finally decides to have that talk with Setchel.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, he does. He goes and interrogates him because he's still worried that maybe Zedrix could not have been lying completely, because the best lies are always built on truth. So he's worried that Nearest really did send him to die. So he goes and interrogates Setchel by cutting those little dangly things off that Sith have. Tendrils.
The dangly tendrils.
The dangly tendrils.
Which is quite painful.
Yeah.
It's probably like cutting your balls off, I'd imagine. Wouldn't you think?
If Sith species tendrils are like their balls, I guess so.
I mean,
they're on your face.
I guess it'd be like cutting an ear off.
It's probably more like an ear. Why did you go immediately to the balls?
I don't know. Because they're tendrils.
They're tendrils. Do your tendrils look like that?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway.
Jeez.
He cuts them off.
You might need to go
knife.
look that off. No, just get that looked at.
But like he cuts one off his face just for hesitating. To answer
and
a
then
question.
he does it. He cuts the other one off.
He's like, truth doesn't require hesitation.
Yeah.
So he goes, he's like, ah! And he's leaking.
Didn't he say? He said, "Next time I take an eye," or something. Like that.
Yeah.
And crazy. Then Nearest busts into the room and is like, "You will not harm Setchel anymore. He is my boyfriend."
No. Goodness. She said, "I will answer your question."
Yes. So she takes him to her private study.
And she tells him
that,
some good I tried to kill you. Those were my mercenaries.
Yeah. And then, not even her slave, who's always pretty much there.
Yeah, she wasn't there.
She wasn't there.
Yeah.
And
because then they start talking about the Emperor.
Yeah, and she's like, "I'm going to show you this place, and it's going to make you think that the Emperor is entirely too insane to follow." And he's like, "Okay."
She tells him some of his story of what happened.
She lets him in on the conspiracy fully.
Yeah.
And talks about, he agrees that,
how she wanted to get rid of Zedrix. He didn't try to kill her. He wanted to get rid of her. And they staged that assassination.
Mm-hmm. And just to make sure the conspiracy didn't draw unwanted attention, and she lets him in on the conspiracy, and he does believe that, yes, I don't think we should attack the Republic like the Emperor wants to, but I'm still not convinced that we need to kill the Emperor.
But he also says, like, what is my only option is to go along with this, because there's no way she's going to let me leave this room alive.
If he's betraying her, So they go to Nathema, and they go through, like we said, it's a dead planet. There's piles of clothes everywhere. The Force is gone. It's just a void.
And she tells him all that, but like it doesn't hit him until he actually sets foot there.
And after that, after a short time on the planet, he's like, "All right, let's get the heck out of here."
Yeah, I'm ready to leave.
So he's like, "You're right. Okay, we're gonna go." But when they do, Revan shows up in the Ibn Hawk, and Nearest goes, shoots it down, because he gets more of his memories back and kind of falls out and doesn't notice the ship coming. And T3, his little droid, is like, "Dude, wake up! We got people coming!" But in beeps and binary. Yeah, like that. So they get shot down. And T3 hides. I love that name. T3.
It's a nice name.
Yeah, T3 and 4. And Scourge shows up, sees Revan there, and he's like, huh, that's weird. Holy crap, a lightsaber. And picks him up like a sack of potatoes and carries him out, and he's like, so what are we going to do with him? Well, we're going to take him. So they take Revan prisoner. T3 hid from them, and they couldn't sense anything. I don't think they can sense droids anyway.
No.
Yeah, they can't.
No.
But, I mean, anyway, because there's no force. And T3 just hides.
Yeah.
And T3 will spend 4 months trying to get the Ebon Hawk back ready to fly, which he succeeds at, but we will talk about that later. So here we go. After he is captured.
He's a POW.
Yeah.
They hold him for about 3 years.
Yeah, this is the time of the 3-year time skip.
Mm-hmm.
And they immediately try interrogating him. Scourge is an expert in interrogation. That's one of his best subjects, and he tortures him and tries, but he's like, this is the first time he's interrogated a Jedi, and Jedi are known for having strong wills and being able to resist the Force interrogation.
Not only that, but he's like, I can tell
he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Because his memories still are locked away.
You're not going to get anything out of this guy, and even if you do, I don't think he knows anything. He doesn't seem to react to any questions or anything, so which is the truth. He doesn't know.
Yeah. So Nereus pretty much throws him in a cell, tells the guards to not interact with him at all, and they keep him fed on a cocktail of drugs, which makes him physically weak and weaken the Force, so he can't really do anything. They have to
constantly change the drugs because he will
build up an immunity.
But I love how Scourge keeps visiting him every week to just talk to him.
Yeah, because Scourge wants to know more about the Force and know more about the Jedi.
Yeah.
And Revan, at the same time, is finding out all he can about the Empire.
This is the first time I've seen a Sith curious about the light side.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Usually it's a Jedi who's like, ooh, dark and ruinous powers. Sounds
really
pretty
cool
good. And Revan, he knows both the light and the dark side. He is the epitome, if you've ever heard the term gray Jedi, that's Revan.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty cool.
But it's, of course he's a prisoner, but it's also almost like a mentor role. He's kind of teaching Scourge a different way to view the Force. Instead of using the Force, being one with the Force and letting it, flow through you instead of using it as a tool, which is what the Sith do.
Yeah. So then after the 3 years, we see Mitra, who, just after the events of KOTOR 2, or after she did the Jedi Civil War and everything.
She was the exile, by the way.
She arrives at Bastille Shan's apartment and meets Revan's son, whose name is... It's another anagram of Revan, which is...
Oh, it was Veneer?
Venar, yeah.
Yeah.
Vener. Whatever. When Revan and Kangarus went to the Mandalorians, they asked his name immediately, and Kangarus was like, his name's Avner. which is another anagram of his original name. And he's like, even right after he says this, he's like, can I talk to you for a second?
Avner?
Really? That's the best you could come up with?
Are you crazy?
And it does go back to bite him, because that's one of the reasons that Vitra is like...
Yeah, she figures it out.
He's like, that's an anagram of Revan. So anyway, his son has a name, anagram of Revan, and Bastille still misses him, and Mitra comes in. She's found T3, and T3 was one of her companions in KOTOR 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so his original programming was, if he ever got separated from Revan, was he was to come right back to Coruscant to Bastille.
It's just like R2 when he delivered the message to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly. But except R2 didn't go on a 3-year journey quest. He was like, yeah, this is kind of important. I should help her. And he does. And Bastille is like, yeah, you're right. Revan would be proud of you, little buddy. Pat, pat. And so...
The whole time, Bastille is, fighting this, jealousy of Mitra. Because she was so close to him and
at first.
In their battles and stuff.
And she was 10 years older than her.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the current Mrs. meeting the ex.
Not really, though. They were never like that.
But, I mean, Bastille
But she is jealous.
Yeah. but still doesn't know that though.
Yeah, but what she needs to realize is that like they're both mourning him, like, and they're trying to.
And she does.
They're hoping he's still alive.
She realizes that at the end. She lets her stay to see what the message that T3 has, and T3 shows them the holo recordings of Revan getting captured on Nathema, and Mitra, who is currently the new hero of the galaxy. She stopped the Jedi Civil War, all that. So she's like, all right, I'm going to go find Revan. And she does. She goes to Nathema. She has the Ebon Hawk, because they can never get another ship.
She almost barfs.
Yeah, because Nathema is so terrible and horrible for a person to be at. And she finds a bunch of data about the old Sith Empire from the Great Hyperspace War, and she gets the entire story of the Emperor's backstory and the directions to Dromund Kaas. She finds that and goes there. And she infiltrates pretty easily. Like, she's just a human on the Imperial planet. She bribes a customs official and gets past, and she has a lot of gemstones and sells them for credits. And she's like, I need to find someone. And the dude who buys the gems is like, okay, I can set you up with a meeting. It's a guy named Setchel. He's pretty good at this stuff. I was like, well, that's a stroke of luck.
Yeah.
But before this, Revan is having another conversation with Scourge, and he's like, yeah, you know what? I had a vision that I'm going to get out of here. And
he's
Scourge,
totally...
he's totally bullshitting. And Scourge is like, what was the vision? Tell me. And he's like, oh, you will find out soon enough.
But then right after he leaves, he actually does have a vision.
And he's like, holy crap, it worked.
He's like, Mitra?
He's like, maybe me saying I had a vision was the reason it happened. Force works in mysterious ways.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And Mitra has a meeting with Setchel, and she shows a holo recording. She doesn't use any names. She just says, I need to find this guy. And Setchel's like, I may know this person. I think I can get a meeting. 5,000 credits, please, okay? And he's like, Scourge?
It cost extra.
Yeah. Scourge and Setchel have not really interacted for 3 years after that whole interrogation thing. So Setchel just shows up and is like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, you're not going to invite me into the room? And he's like, no. And then later on, Scourge is like, all right, you better come in. He's like, actually, I don't want to anymore. Because I think you might kill me.
Get in here.
So he tells him, but there's this woman looking for you. And I've set up a meeting. You might want to bring some extra security Murtaugh's guys. Bring Murtaugh and a couple of his top lieutenants. And he's like, okay. You backed me into a corner here. So I guess I'll bring them. Because I know they're going to report to you whatever happens. I get you. I can know what you're doing. I can play your game. So he does that. He goes to meet Mitra. She kills Murtaugh and his lieutenants. And then Scourge is like, holy crap. Revan was right.
Yeah. And
they join forces.
Mm-hmm. He says he'll come back with supplies and next day or something.
He's like, don't worry, I have a plan. I'm gonna get the Emperor to kill Nearest for me.
Yeah. And
he goes and meets the Emperor face to face, and it is, Roddy, take it away.
Yeah, he's chilled to the bone when he enters the throne room. He has a throne room.
The chair reaches pretty much the ceiling. It's huge, and it's a huge vaulted ceiling.
It's kind of like what do you call it? The Sistine Chapel.
Yeah,
it's like that.
And it's a swivel throne. You see the back when you enter, and then it's just like boom. And I am pretty sure that it is not mechanical. He just uses the Force for that thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's not much for him.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Psychological warfare, Roddy.
Oh my gosh. He goes in there and he's like, hey, this Darth Nearest is plotting to assassinate you.
But not just her.
Trying to betray you. Yeah, the whole council's in on it.
Not the whole 5 of them.
Okay, 5 of them, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
You're right.
It doesn't matter.
He only names a few of them.
Yeah.
But he's like, are you sure of this? He's like really irritated that he's even there.
Yeah, he's like, don't worry, I've got proof.
And he says, I would stake my life on it. He says, you already have. And I was like, oh my gosh. So he's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then the Emperor has the entire Dark Council murdered.
Yeah, he gets the Imperial Guard to go after 2 or 3 of them. Because he's like, those are the top ones, and the other ones, he doesn't even send anyone to attack. He just knows these 3 probably won't answer my call. He calls the other one to him and kills them all. And Scourge goes back to Mitra and infiltrates Neris's place. He dresses her up as a slave in a slave outfit, which is a bit awkward. Because she's a girl, and if you've ever seen Star Wars, girl slaves don't dress very much. So they go in, she has a slave collar on too. And
yeah, she really hated that.
Yeah, because she hates slavery. Like, there's some inner...
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who hates slavery? Like, what?
Well, Scourge does it, and you seem to like him pretty good.
Well, I mean...
Blew a hole in your logic there. She really hates it, though. To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So she goes in, and Scourge is like, okay, I'm going to go meet Neris. He's like, you're not meeting her without bringing me with you. Are you crazy? That will make her think something's going on. And she's like, well, I guess we're not doing anything then. And she's being very irritating. And so Scourge is like,
no, she does back down.
And Scourge is like, well, what do you want to do? And then boom, because he had just said, I'm pretty sure the Emperor won't move for a couple days. Not right. The Imperial Guard is bearing down. They are immediately open up with an artillery barrage.
Oh, I forgot to say anything about like his guards.
Mm-hmm.
They are tied to him. They're not like connected to the Force.
Yeah, they're not Force sensitive. They're Emperor
classical
sensitive.
way. It's like he is powering them.
Yeah,
so that makes them super powerful.
Yeah, if you try and force push them, it only moves them like an inch.
It's like just doing this.
Yes, like so. The Force the Force pushes and stuff can't hurt them pretty much. They're really strong. They're highly trained. Most of them don't make the training. They use electro staffs and blaster pistols, and they are entirely fanatical for the Emperor. If the Emperor says, "Don't worry,"
it's his SS.
Yeah. If the Emperor says, "I will deal with it myself," they don't question and say, "But you should bring guards," because I mean they're the Emperor, and their word is law. They're like, "Okay, Emperor, we'll just sit here pretty. You go do whatever you want, man. We love you. You're our god, pretty much." And, I mean, in the attack, they blast through the wall, and the first wave of them gets shot down. But this does not hinder them in any way. The second wave immediately goes forward. It's like the British Army during the American Revolution. They just don't break. They march forward, but they're a lot more deadly.
Yeah.
And because Mitra killed Murtaugh and the other top lieutenants, Neris's forces are pretty much crap at this point. Like, they can't do an effective... resistance. They're
not properly organized.
Yeah, they're getting torn apart. So Mitra and Scourge and T3 move into the cell blocks, and they get inside, and Revan had just talked his way out of being killed because the guards had been ordered to kill him, but they were so scared of him that he's literally shaking, and the other dude's like, "Do it, man! What are you waiting for?" And he's like, "Shut up! You wouldn't even open his cell." It's like Red versus Blue, pretty much. Just these random idiots. Mm-hmm. And Revan's like, "Don't worry, I promise on my name as a Jedi, I will protect you guys." And they're like, "Okay, we're cool." So Revan gets out, and Mitra and Scourge shows up. I think it's funny. He's just like, Mitra shows up. She's wearing a slave outfit. And he's like, okay. And then she immediately smells him because he hasn't had a shower in 3 years. Mm-hmm. Yep. And she's like, ugh. He's like, yeah, it's been a
while. We forgot to mention that when Mitra went to
Darn it, I knew I was 3 days.
Well, it's fine. Went to see Bastille. She gave Mitra his mask that she had been keeping for
and a recording of their son.
Yeah, that was cool.
Mm-hmm. And when she hands him the mask after this, and then someone starts showing up in the defensive cell, like T3 was up there watching, he gets launched like a cannonball down the stairs, like that. And the guards who Revan saved move up. They're like, "Don't worry, we got this." And then, if you've ever seen the Force Unleashed trailer where Starkiller goes, "Roar!" and like an energy wave pretty much like annihilates stormtroopers, like disintegrates them, that's what she does to these 2 dudes. She walks in, and she's a full-powered Sith Lord, and she's in her prime. She may look like a hag,
Yeah.
but she does not fight like one. She is just she's pretty much Palpatine's level.
You also have to bear in mind that she's not human, she's a Sith.
Yeah,
so
they're
she's
full-blooded.
Quite a bit more powerful in the way of the dark side than a human could be. But
unless you're the Emperor.
He's all hyped up on those drugs that Revan is, and so you have to think like he's just struggling to stay conscious. Really, he's using the Force to do that.
Yeah, Scourge gives him a drug to fix it.
Kind of help a bit.
They handed him his mask before this happened, and that caused him to have a seizure or something because he's getting all his memories back. And so he goes back. He's back in his cell pretty much while this is happening. Nearest is about to kill everyone with this huge wave of Force lightning, but Revan Shows up with the mask on. Mask on. And just
remember when
Count
beats her ass.
Yeah, remember when Count Dooku shot lightning at Yoda and he just went, "Much to learn. You still have." Revan did that times 1,000.
I like that.
Yeah. And he just was like, "I am Revan, and to me, you are nothing." And
pretty much.
And just annihilates her. And then they go back to a cave that's kind of their hideout on Drummond Cass. And
it's the cave where Mitra met Scourge.
And killed Murtaugh and all.
Yeah.
And Scourge leaves and goes and gets some supplies because Revan really wants a shower. And Revan spends hours watching the video of his son in Bastille because he misses them.
Yeah.
And
I think it was like his second birthday party or
something like that. And he keeps watching it over. And Mitra starts meditating when Scourge gets back. And Scourge talks to Revan about visions because he's trying to sleep and he has a nightmare showing all of them laying dead on the floor. And he tries to crawl away and the Emperor kills him. And he's like, so he's talking to him about visions because Sith don't deal with visions. That's not a part of their philosophy at all. So he knows nothing. And
he's debating whether or not to even ask Revan about it.
Yeah.
But he eventually does.
And Revan is like, "Oh, the Force works in mysterious ways. Visions are never absolute.
Yeah,
they just show a distinct possibility.
It's just a possible future."
Yeah. So Scourge is like, "Okay."
But I'm still worried.
Yeah.
So they do eventually go and they set a plan. They go and try to overthrow the Emperor.
Yeah, they don't have to fight their way in. Scourge just is like, "I demand an audience with the Emperor," and the guards are like, "Okay, dude."
Okay. He was just there.
Yeah. And he's Lord Scourge. I mean, he unveiled this entire plot. The entire reason the Dark Council is dead is because of this man.
And he was promised a seat on that council also.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal.
So they let him through, and then he's like, "Let me through to see the Emperor with my friends too." And the guards are like, okay. And then this captain shows up, and Revan is kind of like avoiding their face, and then a dude puts his hand on his shoulder, and he turns around, and they see the mask, and they're like, "Holy crap, assassins!" And
because the captain lady is the one that led him and what's his name?
Malik.
In before, like, that was their way in when they were trying to defeat the Emperor the first time.
So they start fighting.
She was all over it.
And a whole bunch of dudes show up, and Revan uses the Force to open the doors and charges the Emperor.
Yeah, he goes after the Emperor while Scourge and Mitra are fighting the guards.
Yeah, they seal the doors.
Not an easy task.
Yeah, they seal the doors and fight, and they do win their battles. Revan proves to be that he can match the Emperor pretty much because the Emperor is just focusing on dominating his mind like the first time he met him, but Revan has a way against that now. So as the Emperor is trying to do that, he gets blindsided by a way, and then he starts doing lightning, and Revan dodges it and reflects it back at him, and he gets knocked off the throne. But then I think Revan gets hit by lightning somehow.
I think he did,
Yeah, he gets hit by lightning, and it really messes him up. Like, his mask is fused to his face. Like, it says his flesh boils.
But then T3 comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and flamethrowers him, blasts him, and the Emperor just goes, and T3 blows up, and I was like, no!
The way he describes it, though, is like, look at this brave little droid. Doing his best to help his friend, and then he's decimated into pieces.
Yeah, it rains down on Revan, who goes, "No!" This is like when Darth Vader found out Padme was dead for Revan.
It was kind of like
that. And Revan gets up, and Mitra, and Scourge are ready to do it. But then Scourge gets a vision, and he's like, someone will defeat the Emperor, but it will not be us. Kills Mitra.
Yeah.
And the Emperor takes Revan alive because he still has use for him. And he's like, oh, don't worry, Scourge. I have plans for you. You have proven your loyalty. Mm-hmm. I will grant you a seat on the Dark Council, and you will be choosing those to form the next one. But he gets another idea later on. He's like, oh, Scourge, you're going to be immortal. I've created a new position for you. You are the Emperor's Wrath. Sounds pretty cool. He's pretty much Darth Vader for the Emperor. Cool. Like, he's pretty much top in the Imperial military. He's the Emperor's personal problem solver. Mm-hmm. And
connected to that vision he had, though, the reason he, like, I think acted on the vision is because earlier in the cave, Revan mentioned, like, hey, even if it's not me who saves the day, someone else will. Mm-hmm. The Force will have a champion to defeat this Emperor.
I've been it before, but not any. But maybe
not this time. Yeah. And so he has that vision. And he's like, well, it's none of us.
Yeah, he sees a Jedi Knight who is the Jedi Knight from the Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO storyline, mm-hmm. and that's in our group. That's Riley.
Yeah. Woo. So yeah, he completely betrays Mitra and Revan, but he's doing it so that he will eventually be able to defeat the Emperor with this chosen.
And the Emperor grants him immortality, and you're constant.
I love the way they describe this, though.
He feels an immense pain as the process happens, all the drugs and forced sorcery and whatnot.
It's like you're being electrocuted and on fire all the time.
He gets up from that, like his outsides are good, but his insides are still on fire. And he's like, when will the pain subside? And the Emperor's like, in the months you will learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
And he's like, everything has a price, dear boy.
He's like, in about 6 or 7 months when you're able to, handle your pain, you can
become the Emperor's Wrath. And
oh my gosh, he's like, why?
And
this is the price of immortality.
Yeah, this is the way.
This is the way.
And
meanwhile, Revan is in like a tube where he's being like drained of his.
And this shows how tough Revan is, like especially in the mind. The Emperor constantly has a link to his mind and is constantly attacking him and trying to he's trying to discover everything, all his memories. He wants to know about the Republic, and if he does, he'll know that the Republic is kind of weak right now and he can go ahead and invade. But Revan is like fighting him off, and not only that, he's planting seeds in his mind about how maybe attacking the Republic isn't a good idea. And he doesn't care if he can hold out. He thinks he can hold out for 50 years, and by that time, Bastille will have been able to live without another war. And then he says, I might be able to hold out 100 years, and my son will never have to fight a war either.
Yeah.
He manages to hold him off for 3 centuries.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's when the game takes place.
Revan is an awesome character.
He is pretty
sarcastic, tough, family man. Also, I didn't say this before. There was a part where he goes to the Jedi Temple and reads a file, and I love the Jedi, but the Jedi Council is just idiot hypocrites, and they don't change, and that is why bad things happen.
Yeah,
like their whole thing on attachments is stupid. And I remember this one Jedi comes in and is immediately like super, like snipey to him, and he's just sarcastic. He makes her angry, and then he's like, there is no emotion, there is peace. And she's like, and then runs away. I love snarky Revan.
Yeah, it was funny. I also love the fact that, like, since he's done light and dark side before, he's like, the Jedi Council, they want no emotion, but, like, why? Mm-hmm. When you could, like, the Sith, they pour hate and fear and anger into everything they do. Why can't we pour love and hope into what we do?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make you way stronger? you know. So I've never actually thought about that much when it comes to just watching the movies and stuff, but I thought that was a cool take.
Yeah.
On that. And then the book ends with his wife. She's an old lady now, and she has grandchildren.
Yeah. His son is a politician. He's a leader. And
not a Jedi.
Yeah, he's not sensitive to the Force.
Yeah.
And he talks about how, oh, you're sounding like my campaign manager. Vote me for Supreme Chancellor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a pretty good politician. He's a very good leader for the Republic. And the Republic needs it to rebuild.
But that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know I certainly enjoyed this book.
I did too. It was good.
And I definitely recommend checking it out. You get it for $7.99. But yeah, I just picked it up because like everybody's talking about Revan right now. Like, oh, will Revan be the next movie? And will it be?
He is canon.
Keanu Reeves.
They did canonize his name.
They just did that. Yeah.
Do you know why?
Because he's cool.
No. In the new movie, the Sith fleet, like they have different like stormtrooper battalions that are named after ancient Sith lords, and Revan was one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
But they did that because he's cool, though.
They did. But he is cool.
He is cool.
I love Revan.
He is cool. And so is Lord Scourge. Canonize him, please. Can we get Lord Scourge on screen? Love Lord Scourge.
Riley has a man crush on
I
Lord
do
Scourge.
a bit.
He wants to fondle his tendrils.
No, like... well, like, he's kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum as Revan.
Yeah.
You know, he's dark side, wanting to learn more about the light side. And I think that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's like, it's a different concept for me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I like him.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed. Next episode of Novel Nook should be a continuation of our Halo novel reruns. Yeah, which is a novelization of Halo Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books.
Cool.
Yeah. So we will see you then. This is Chimmy Comics signing off.